The narcissist can still lie. They can still be able to manipulate a therapist and convincing the therapist that you're the crazy one, that they're the healthy one, that all this kind of stuff. So it only works if the person's being willing to be honest. And it only works if they're going in and having their mindset shifted, having their mindset change. Is narcissistic personality disorder treatable? Is it able for treatment options to actually help a person who is a narcissist? Big question a lot of people ask. You might be wondering, is there any hope for treating someone with NPD? Can they actually figure this out? Maybe you know someone who's been diagnosed with NPD or someone who looks like they're a narcissist and they're seeking treatment. You're like, can this actually work? Is NPD a condition that can even be managed or even overcome? What does this actually look like? If you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness, growth, healing, change, and development. I'm the founder of Raw Motivations, the creator of the NARC app, and your guide in the 45-day Clarity Challenge. You can access at claritychallenge.net. If you're stuck in the rumination and the intrusive thoughts and you just keep going through this over and over and over again, take the challenge to start investing in you on a daily basis. The majority of you haven't had a chance to develop daily consistent practices on a deep level to figure out who you are and the direction you're going. Clarity Challenge starts to unlock that for you, starts to open that door so you can actually get clear on your purpose and on your direction. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm a self-aware narcissist. You're like, wait a second, this whole thing is about, is narcissist treatable? Well, we're going to dive into that and see some of the aspects about it and see what might actually be possible. So when we talk about narcissistic personality disorder, we typically talk about a personality disorder that is not interested in change and is not interested in growing and is not interested with ownership of the shit that's inside, of the shame, of the guilt, of all the different pieces, the vulnerability being weakness, all those things, and running away from it. So let's look through a couple different things. So when we talk through, first off, like treatment options, what are treatment options for NPD? Now, there's a variety of different things that are there. Typically, the biggest one is just going to be therapy. Okay, therapy as far as helping this person actually change the mindset that they're actually believing, change the thought process. We don't have medication to be able to fix NPD. Like, it's not going to magically be able to change or be able to help this person. Lifestyle changes can be a big move as well in helping these people understand where they're going. Okay, for me personally, I've been in like one-on-one therapy for over 2 years. I've also been before that in like individual, like going back and forth with EMDR, like starting to learn and understand, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm growing. This is how I'm changing and developing. Okay, EMDR kind of helped break some things in the past that I didn't even know was there. And then regular therapy, using all different types of regular therapy, even with the same therapist, we started to break through different walls of shame and guilt and understanding in a vulnerability place of where I could actually show up. Therapy is typically the most common treatment for people with narcissistic personality disorder. A lot of times it's a combination of different types of therapy. Like for me, a lot of it is talk therapy. It's also like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. We also do like lots of different stuff with tapping, Splunkna, like a lot of different pieces. EMI, there's a lot of different pieces there that is incorporated if we get to a wall and then she's like, all right, let's try something new. Let's switch it around a little bit. I mentioned before, like medications are not something that you typically see with a narcissist at all because there's no pill. There's no pill to be able to solve narcissistic personality disorder. Okay. However, sometimes there is things alongside of that that can be worked on as well. A lot of times anxiety and depression. I haven't seen as much of that in my life at all as far as like depression or anxiety, but we do see that a decent amount in borderline. Oftentimes borderlines are treated more for depression, anxiety, different like degrading thoughts, different things in that category in one sense, even like suicidal thoughts, stuff like that inside of borderline than we see inside of narcissistic. We don't see that as much, okay? Doesn't mean it doesn't exist, we just don't see it as much, okay? I haven't seen it, I haven't heard about it as much, things like that, okay? But typically what we're looking at is talk therapy is the biggest one. The thing with talk therapy is the narcissist can still lie. They can still be able to manipulate a therapist and convincing the therapist that you're the crazy one, that they're the healthy one, that all this kind of stuff. So it only works if the person's being willing to be honest. And it only works if they're going in and having their mindset shifted, having their mindset changed. For me, a pivotal point was like understanding that I was actually in control of what I was thinking and how to change the story to be able to change what I actually believe, to be able to change the direction. So change the story of I'm in love with other women to be like, wait a second, no, I'm not, because I haven't treated them loving. It's just an infatuation. I just did this to be able to get a high off of being in an affair, going from person to person. And so being able to change the story of understanding, wait a second, that's not reality. That's not the truth of the situation. Till narcissists can embrace the truth, nothing's going to set them free. Okay? Sometimes you'll see people that specialize in NPD, and sometimes that might help to some degree, but really it depends on the person seeking help. Are they willing to actually get truthful? Okay? So some of the challenges, I know we're kind of jumping around a little bit. Some of the challenges with NPD can be difficult with a couple different factors here. A lot of times it's just the acceptance piece. Like first off is like, I can't accept that I'm a narcissist. Okay, I didn't want to accept that for a long period of time. I denied it for a long period of time. Like when it first came up, I like even had the question, the thought, I was like, maybe I'm a sociopath. Like I just don't connect with people. I don't care about people. I don't have those emotions, same feelings. And my wife was like, we like went through stuff and my wife was like, maybe you're a narcissist. And first response, no, like that's stupid. And went to make sure I told everybody else that I was a narcissist, and then they went back and told her that I was a narcissist. All these different things to be able to show myself that I was a narcissist. But stuff slowly got chipped away. Like learning about shame, learning about guilt, learning about emotional intelligence, learning about the sex addicts, all this kind of stuff, and then realizing like, wait a second, all this stuff is not me. It's just narcissism. And then the outworking of that and how it actually shows up on a day-to-day basis is some of those abusive natures. Okay, so a lot of times the narcissist will have trouble accepting who they actually are. You need to understand this coming from your standpoint, because you might be here today thinking like, how do I get him to understand? How do I get him to be aware of it? How do I get him to accept it? You have to start on a very, very base level. So for instance, if he lies and you say, hey, you just lied, and he never admits that he lied, there's no point in even getting to NPD. Like there's no point in trying to say, hey, you're a narcissist, okay? Because first off, they're a liar. Until they're willing to be honest, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to happen. So you might have where narcissists resist therapy all the time of like, I don't want this, this means weakness, this is stupid, or they run to it and they bring all their lies with them, okay? Oftentimes with other mental health conditions, this can complicate treatment as well. So you might have a narcissist that's also an addict. You might have a narcissist that also has ADHD or autism, or there's multiple things that look very similar. That sometimes get misdiagnosed, but look very similar. And sometimes that treatment process is going to be extremely slow. It can take a lot of time to see significant improvement. This is the hard part, because if I say this, then you're going to be like, wait a second, let me stay with him for another year and let him abuse me because it's going to take him a while. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you're in an abusive relationship, get out. Start working on you. Let that person work on themselves, period. If you've been in an abusive relationship with a liar, with a cheater for such a long period of time, there's no working on the relationship currently. There's only you working on you and him working on him. That's what you have to go towards. That's what you have to see every single time. But I don't want you to just hold out, being like, well, I should work on this. Think of it this way. I went into EMDR therapy. Was in EMDR therapy for like 6 months, and then regular therapy shortly after that for a couple months. I think it was like 4 months. Okay. Then my wife left me. Okay. My wife didn't leave, and then I'm like, oh, I should get into therapy. I was already at the place where I was like, okay, I'm in therapy. Do I like it? No. Do I love it? No. Do I think it's a great thing? No. But I was in therapy. I was starting to put in the work or do the work, but not necessarily fully. Which is why she's in the relationship. She's like, this isn't working out. Like, you're not changing. And so she left. She got a job in another state. She moved out. She took her daughter, like went to live with the mom. Like, all these things happened because I wasn't actually showing up and demonstrating a change. So a lot of times you have a narcissist that goes into therapy and is starting to work on themselves, and you don't see a change. If you don't see a change, then you need to move forward. Like, you don't need to stick around with a person that is not willing to change and grow themselves. You need to understand the majority of times a narcissist will change just to be able to keep you on the line, to be able to keep you in the relationship. Okay, so you have to understand there's a lot of manipulation that happens with it too. When you take the relationship off the table, a lot of times that will help you get to the place of understanding this relationship is no longer there, and all of a sudden you notice that the narcissist just disappears off the planet. Like they just disappear of them actually working on themselves because they were only working on themselves to be able to get you, to be able to interact with you, to be able to establish a relationship or keep that relationship. All right, so what are the actual outcomes? Like what's the success rate? Unfortunately, we don't have one. Haven't been able to see a consistent success rate of people that I work with or people that I've heard or even like statistics that I've looked up because the outcome varies so much. I have a couple narcissists that I've worked with extensively for a good period of time. Not long term as far as like I'm still not working with them because they don't always continue to put in the work. They don't always continue to work on themselves. I have several narcissists that I'll work with and I'll talk to first off, and we'll get to a certain point and then I'll be like, hey, this is what you need to do. And then they don't do it. And this is where you need to go. And then they don't go. And this is how you need to be able to develop. And then they won't develop. This is what you need to invest in you. And then they won't do it. And so I see this a lot of times where narcissists will say, I want help, but they're unwilling to actually do the work required. We see the same thing with survivors a lot of times. That they say, I want to heal, but then they're not willing to do the work required. We have a 45-day clarity challenge that actually helps you break the trauma bond. People that have been through it start to finish and done the homework, done the assignments, actually put in the effort, have had their trauma bonds broken. Almost every single time. I can't think of a person who has actually completed everything in it and not had their trauma bond broken. But I can tell you the majority of people do not complete it. They get halfway through. They get a portion of the way through and then they fade off. Or they start doing it and they don't do the daily assignments. And they're like, why isn't this working? I'm like, well, you're not actually doing what's required to change. This is one of the hardest things for people to be able to understand. Like, you have to be able to do what's required in order to move forward. So anyways, side trail there, okay? When we're talking about NPD and we're talking about like successful treatment and outcomes, like you might only see minor improvements. Because a lot of times they're going to struggle with the same symptoms throughout their life. Like, just because I'm a self-aware narcissist now doesn't mean that my mind is magically shifted and changed. It still means that there's a struggle there every single day. Which is why I wake up super early in the morning, why I meditate, why I do devotions, why I do things inside my own life. Like stacking, to be able to go through and process, to rewire the story that I believe. It's the same process that we teach people inside the 45-day challenge to help them rewire the story that they believe about the toxic person and the stuff that they're going through. Being able to get free is a process, and it is a process to be able to change your mindset. Narcissists oftentimes does not want to change their mindset, which is why they won't engage with the truth, which is why they won't actually get free from the toxicity that are out there. If you're struggling and you're like, I don't know how to get free, you can go to claritychallenge.net. claritychallenge.net to start off with the 45-day clarity challenge, a daily systematic process of you investing in you to heal, to grow, to change, and to develop. If you're like, hey, I want to work even faster, I want to go that direction even faster, but with you, to be able to communicate, to be able to answer questions, things like that along the way, you can reach out at rawmotivations.com, grab a one-on-one. Would love to be able to help you in your healing, in your growth, and in your change.